If beauty were a resource, the Czech Republic would have been exporting it for a long time. Yet what makes this place special is that no one here feels the need to talk about it. There is no showmanship, no noise, and no urge to impress anyone. You walk through the old streets of Prague, beneath rooftops that have stood for centuries, and you begin to notice how calm everything feels. The beauty of the people, the elegance of the architecture, the way life keeps a gentle distance from the outside world. Nothing is put on display, yet everything is quietly present. So why does a country that speaks softly and never boasts leave such a deep impression on those who visit? Perhaps because here you are not pushed to become someone else. You are allowed to slow down, allowed to be quiet, allowed to simply be yourself. In this video, we will take a slower walk through the Czech Republic, guided by real life and real people. And if you have ever been curious about this country, drop a 1 in the comments. Now let's begin our journey. Where the Czech Republic is and why it's different. The Czech Republic sits right at the heart of Europe. It has no coastline, no beaches to showcase to the world. Yet it has never been isolated. In fact, its central location has placed the country at the crossroads of civilizations, ideas, and historical movements for centuries. To the west lies Bohemia with its deep forests, old towns, and quiet rhythm of life. To the east is Moravia, softer and more rolling, shaped by hills and farmland, where people remain closely tied to community and tradition. Between them is the Highland Plateau, not overly harsh, yet never overly generous, a landscape that has quietly taught its people to adapt, to endure, and to live practically. Geography here does more than shape scenery. It shapes character. Czech people tend to be reserved, patient, and uninterested in showing off. But to understand the Czech mindset today, you have to look at the layers of history embedded in this land. For centuries, it was ruled by the Habsburg Empire, where order, discipline, and structure defined daily life. Then came Czechoslovakia, a young nation filled with hope, yet marked by uncertainty. After that, the communist era, when personal freedom was restricted, emotions were kept in check, and privacy became a form of self-preservation. And then came the Velvet Revolution. No gunfire, no bloodshed. Just persistence, silence, and resolve. That moment didn't only change a political system, it reshaped the soul of a nation. Because in the Czech Republic, history never truly disappears. It lives on in the way people think, in the way they keep their distance, and in the way they love quietly, cautiously, but with lasting depth. 2. Czech women. Beauty without show. In the Czech Republic, beauty is not something meant to be displayed. It exists in a quiet, natural way, so ordinary that you often notice it only after you've already passed by. Czech women are not obsessed with perfect makeup or rigid body standards. Stepping outside with a bare face and simple clothing is completely normal here, not a statement, just a way of life. What leaves a lasting impression isn't glamour, but a kind of calm, grounded self-assurance, quiet confidence. It's a confidence that doesn't seek attention or validation. A confidence that comes from knowing who you are without feeling the need to explain it to the world. Czech women tend to keep their emotions private, speak only when necessary, smile only when it's genuine, and maintain a gentle distance not out of coldness, but out of respect for personal space. Kristina Piskova Miss World 2024 is a clear reflection of this spirit. She doesn't represent flashy beauty or show business glamour. What makes her stand out is her composed presence, the way she speaks with calm clarity, and the sense of inner steadiness she carries. It's a kind of beauty that invites you to listen rather than stare. The Czech Republic's mild climate and slower pace of life also play a role in shaping this natural elegance. Life here isn't rushed. People walk more, spend time outdoors, and move with the seasons instead of against them. skin posture, and even the way people carry themselves reflect that ease unforced and unstrained. Compared to women in many Western European countries, where emotions are more openly expressed and social energy is more outward, Czech women tend to be more reserved. They don't perform friendliness and they don't fake warmth, but if you slow down and meet them on their terms, you'll discover a sincerity that runs quietly beneath the surface. Czech beauty is not something you grasp in the first moment. It takes time, and much like the country itself, the more patiently you observe, the deeper it reveals itself. 3. Education, careers, and independence. Behind that quiet beauty lies a solid foundation. Czech women are raised to be practical, independent, and fully responsible for their own lives. Education is not seen as a way to impress others, but as a natural part of becoming an adult. Knowledge here isn't something to show off, it's something to use. In Czech universities, women make up a significant share of graduates. They don't study just to earn a degree, but to build a profession, to stand firmly on their own, in a society that values competence over words. As a result, Czech women are increasingly present in fields that demand precision, endurance, and clear thinking. You'll find them in technology companies where focus and skill matter more than appearances, in hospitals and laboratories where calm judgment can determine lives, in law where logic and structure are essential, and in engineering, a demanding field where only real ability allows you to last. What's striking is that they rarely feel the need to prove anything through image or status. Their achievements speak through daily work, not public performance. Their confidence doesn't come from external approval, but from an inner sense of security, knowing they can support themselves and make their own choices. And that is where the true appeal lies. Not in display, not in noise, but in a quiet, resilient strength that earns respect without asking for it. 4. Architecture, the second soul of the nation. In the Czech Republic, architecture is more than something to be admired. It is living memory, a way history remains present without needing to announce itself. Every wall, every dome, every window carries traces of time, as if the city were quietly whispering old stories to those willing to slow down and listen. Prague is often called a living museum. But unlike a traditional museum where everything sits behind glass, Prague allows you to touch history with your own footsteps. You can walk down a single street and pass through several centuries within minutes without ever feeling a break in time. The earliest architectural layers begin with the Romanesque period: thick stone churches, rounded arches, dim light, and a heavy grounded feeling like spiritual fortresses built to withstand an uncertain world. Then comes Gothic architecture, where structures begin to rise upward, reaching toward the sky. St. Vitus Cathedral within the Prague Castle complex is the most iconic example. Its towering stone columns, stained glass windows that tell stories through light, and its quiet sense of awe feel like a prayer built in stone. The cathedral took more than 6 centuries to complete, and that patience alone says a great deal about the Czech spirit. The Renaissance and Baroque eras brought a different rhythm, softer, more expressive, and richer in emotion. Český Krumlov feels like a living painting, its castle curving gently along the river. St. Nicholas Church in Prague, with its sweeping domes and dynamic frescoes, makes stone and paint seem almost alive. Here, beauty comes not from excess, but from harmony. What makes the Czech Republic unique is that it never stopped evolving. In the early 20th century, a distinctly Czech movement emerged: architectural cubism, not on canvas, but in homes and public buildings. The House of the Black Madonna in Prague stands as a striking example: sharp lines, bold geometry, yet a strong sense of balance and order. It's a very Czech kind of experimentation, daring, but never loud. Modernism pushed this spirit even further with Villa Tugendhat in Brno, a masterpiece of modern architecture and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Open-plan spaces, floor-to-ceiling glass, and a seamless connection between indoors and outdoors placed it decades ahead of its time. The house never tries to declare itself iconic, yet that restraint is exactly what makes it timeless. Contemporary architecture continues the conversation with the past rather than breaking from it. The dancing house, designed by Frank Gehry, curves along the banks of the Vltava River like a pair of dancers in motion. When it was first built, it sparked fierce debate. Over time, however, it became clear that this bold design didn't take away from Prague's character. It proved that the city is still alive. In the end, Czech architecture closely mirrors Czech people themselves. Beautiful but never showy, layered but never chaotic. And the longer you observe it, the more you realize that its true beauty lies not in instant impact, but in its ability to stay with you long after you've left. 5. Practical travel currency and common pitfalls. There's one small but important detail that many travelers only notice after losing money: the currency. The Czech Republic still uses the koruna instead of the euro. This choice isn't just economic. It reflects the country's preference for maintaining control over its own pace and systems rather than fully adopting a shared model. For visitors, this means paying a bit more attention when exchanging money. The airport is where many people make their first mistake. Currency exchange booths there may be convenient, but their rates are often far below the real market value. One rushed exchange can quietly cost you more than you expect. The same issue appears in central Prague. Some exchange offices advertise no commission, but make up for it with unfavorable rates. On the surface, it looks fair until you check how much you actually receive. Private ATMs in tourist areas can be just as costly, applying their own exchange rates along with hidden fees that reduce the amount you withdraw. The goal here isn't to make you anxious, but to help you stay aware. Whenever possible, use bank-operated ATMs or well-known exchange offices that clearly display transparent rates. Taking a moment to slow down and pay attention can save you from unnecessary losses and help you enjoy your trip with peace of mind. In the Czech Republic, just like in daily life, things tend to work best when you don't rush. 6. Salaries, taxes, and cost of living. When it comes to everyday life in the Czech Republic, the most important thing is to look at the numbers honestly, without romanticizing, but without exaggerating the downsides either. The minimum wage is enough to cover basic needs, but it rarely allows for much comfort if you live alone in a major city. The average salary offers more stability, yet it still requires careful budgeting, especially in Prague. Income taxes in the Czech Republic are relatively straightforward compared to many other European countries. The base rate sits at a moderate level, but once social insurance and mandatory contributions are deducted, take-home pay often feels tighter than people expect. This helps explain why Czech people tend to live practically, plan their spending carefully, and avoid showing off. Housing is the biggest pressure point, particularly for newcomers. In central Prague, even a small apartment can consume a large portion of monthly income. The more desirable the location, and the closer it is to tourist areas, the higher the rent. Living outside the city center, or in suburban neighborhoods, can significantly reduce housing costs, though it usually comes with longer commute times. For this reason, shared housing is very common, not only among students, but also among working professionals. Splitting rent is a practical response to urban housing realities across Europe, where living alone is often a luxury rather than the norm. All of this paints a clear picture. The Czech Republic is more affordable than many Western European countries, especially when it comes to daily expenses and services. But it is not a cheap living paradise. Life here is manageable and balanced as long as you understand the limits and are willing to adapt to the country's realistic pace of living. 7. Society freedom and the Czech mindset. To truly understand the Czech Republic, you have to look beyond scenery architecture or cost of living. The core lies in how people here view freedom and personal life. The Czech Republic is one of the most secular societies in Europe. Religion exists, but it rarely dictates how people live, choose, or judge others. Belief here is private, not something meant to be displayed. As a result, Czech people tend to live very honestly with themselves. They don't exaggerate emotions, and they don't feel the need to perform friendliness. If they are warm, it's genuine. If they are quiet, it isn't coldness, it's respect for personal space. Relationships here are not built quickly, but once they are formed, they tend to last. For those accustomed to American-style openness, frequent small talk, and instant friendliness, Czech society may feel distant at first. Conversations don't start randomly. Familiarity doesn't happen overnight. But in return, you encounter sincerity without theatrics, without masks, and without shifting attitudes. Freedom in the Czech Republic isn't measured by how loudly you speak, but by how freely you're allowed to live at your own pace. People don't ask intrusive questions. They don't pressure you to conform. And that simplicity creates a quiet sense of safety, a place where you can exist without constantly explaining yourself. The Czech people may not welcome you with open arms right away, but they open the door in another way, quietly, patiently, and with a depth that stays with you long after the first impression. 8. Is the Czech Republic right for you? The Czech Republic doesn't try to be a place for everyone. It doesn't promise a glamorous life. It doesn't overwhelm you at first glance. And it certainly isn't a country that makes you fall in love within just a few days. But if you're someone who values depth over noise, who appreciates subtlety more than display, and who doesn't need constant excitement to feel alive, then the Czech Republic may connect with you in a very different way. Slowly, quietly, but deeply. Some places excite you in the moment. Others stay with you long after you've left, not because of what they show, but because of how they make you feel. The Czech Republic belongs to the second kind. You may not remember every street, every building, or every number, but you'll remember the feeling of slowing down, the calm that doesn't ask for attention, the sense that nothing here needs to prove itself, and neither do you. If this country surprised you in any way, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you enjoy journeys that are thoughtful, quiet, and meaningful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this.